Infusión para llevar.
Hola, bienvenidos. Estamos con Serena Spears. Es una bailarina estadounidense que vive en Nueva York y que nos va a explicar un poquito sobre su historia. Ahorita estamos hablando en español, pero la entrevista será en inglés. Voy a agregar subtítulos y muchas gracias por ver esta entrevista. Déjenos sus comentarios y si quieren seguir a Serena Spears, les voy a agregar todos sus redes sociales, todo el social media, va a estar abajo en los comentarios de YouTube. Ok, entonces cambiamos a inglés. Muchas gracias. Thank you so much, Serena, for waiting while I was explaining everything in Spanish. It's a pleasure and honor for having you with us. And bear with me, my English is not so perfect. I'm trying hard. And thank you for accepting inviting. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. And don't worry, my Spanish is so much worse than your English.
Thank you so much. So we were chatting before the interview. You are such a lovely person. And I was telling you where I met you, and I want to repeat it a little bit. So I met Serena in 8 Elements of Bellydance with Rachel Bryce in 2013, like yesterday. and, and it made an impact on my life because when I saw her dancing, her energy, she was all stamina all the time, and she was dancing all the time, so super strong, super sharp movements. And I was like, who's this kiddo? You like? and Rachel was pushing her like, dance, and I was like, why? And I was like, oh, I see why. So I was like really impressed. It really bring an impression on me, and we keep in touch in social media. And I'm really honored to have her here. Like, I feel like a very fan. Like, thank you so much. And so, who is Serena Spears for the people who didn't know you, like me?
So I am an avid, addicted dancer. But outside of that, I'm a math nerd. I love being outside. I like biking. I like singing, music, and art. I love cats. But in general, my life is math and dance, and the combination of math and dance.
That's so cool, Serena. And I think there are so many great dancers who are scientists or are in tech. So many engineers. That it's very interesting. Like, maybe when I was a kiddo, you never thought that was possible. Like, everybody mixing so different ideas that actually in the end had so much in common. I don't know how you think about it. Do you think in math while you're dancing, you're counting? Yes? Are you?
I do. I think in math and physics. And in fact, when I teach, often I use physics and math references in my classes and geometry for like the creation of shapes. And the mechanics of the body. I get real nerdy.
That's pretty cool. I have one friend here, one of my teachers. She studied physics, and she's a doctor in physics. She's Mexican, and I know that Nesma, she's physics too, and so many other great dancers. So I see a path.
It's amazing. I can't believe how many scientists I end up meeting through dance. It surprises me, but yeah. I love it.
That it's weird, right? You don't expect to meet scientists in dance. Like where?
It's funny because I think dance is math and science, and so I should expect that other scientists would also be attracted to the arts in that way. Like, music is math.
Yes.
Music is all math, which is beautiful. But I feel like when I'm in like a math space, people are very surprised that I dance. And when I'm in a dance space, they're very surprised that I work in math.
Yes, I agree. I've seen that and I live that. Working in tech was for a long period of time. Like, you dance and you do that? Like, really? Why don't you do more like admin stuff, like corporate stuff? Yeah. So okay, let me see. You live in New York. Have you lived all your life in New York? Did you born there? Do you want to talk a little bit about your background?
Sure. So I grew up about an hour from New York City, on Long Island, for anyone who doesn't know. Like Brooklyn and Queens, extending out to Nassau and Suffolk County. So I was always near the city and near the arts of New York City, which was a really big influence when I was a kid. But I didn't grow up in the city. I moved into the city once I started my job, so maybe like 2009, around there. I started dance as a very small child, though, like ballet and tap, like little kid stuff, you know. And my aunt had a dance studio where she had modern and African dance. And I remember feeling so inspired by just by drumming and by community dance. And I feel like that has really stuck with me in all of the dance forms that I really love now.
Thank you, Serena. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Having that experience is really keto. That's really cool. So, for this purpose of the video, I do what we call belly dance, which is a word right now kind of complicated. But let's stick to belly dance with these things. And how did you find it? How did you felt in love? How that appeared in your life? Like why? How? Like
So I found found belly dance when I was in college. A friend of mine went to a party, and that party had a belly dancer, and she gave out these free passes for class. She was like, "Here, take two, one for you and a friend." And so my friend called me and was like, "Hey, how do you feel about taking a free belly dance class?" And at the time, I had been doing a lot of like hip hop dance, and I had been studying dance in college, so like modern and African and ballet, but I had never experienced belly dance. And it seemed sort of out of character for me because I'm not particularly girly or feminine. And my friend knows this. My friend has known me for a very long time. And so I was like, belly dance? Really? Me? Sure. I mean, it's free. Let's go to a belly dance class. But I never walked in expecting that I would start belly dancing, like for real. But about halfway through this class, I was like, everything feels like something I know, but still like there's something about it. And the teacher that I went to, she hooked me right away and was like, "I think you'd be really good for my company." I was like, "Whoa." Like I literally just got here. She was like, yeah, we'll like teach you a couple of choreographies, see how you do. And within a year, I was performing at like weddings and restaurants. It was really crazy. And I'm sort of glad that there are no videos of this because I'm afraid to see what that looked like at the time. But it was the level of her company, and she was like, "You're charming, you'll be great."
that happens.
Yeah. So I started in cabaret. So the more like the actual Middle Eastern dancing, where we have a connection to the Middle Eastern dance community.
Yeah.
So like we were performing at Middle Eastern weddings and Indian weddings, doing Indian fusion. And I was often being confused for the culture of the party. which I thought was fascinating because I like after the party they'd be like, "Wow, you're a great dancer. Where in India are you from?" And I was like, "Yeah." Fooled you. But I really enjoyed it. But there was still a sensation that it was not perfectly my personality. Like it was more feminine than I felt super comfortable expressing, and the costumes were really showy and sparkly and pastel colors, and it's still just like there was something about it that felt like I was putting on a character.
Yeah.
I wasn't me while I was dancing. And so a friend of mine was like, "You should try tribal fusion." And I was like, "What is that?" And she showed me videos of like Rachel Bryce and Zoe Jakes. And I thought they were cool, but I was like, they're all right. That's interesting. And then she took me to a festival on Long Island and I saw Sarah Solstice.
Oh yeah.
That blew my mind. Sarah is just like just a completely separate being. I don't know what it is she's doing. I don't know that she does either. But it's so amazing. And like the performance that I saw of her was a combination of martial arts and contemporary and like hip hop body isolations with belly dance. And it wasn't masculine and it wasn't feminine and it wasn't sexual, but it was so beautiful. I was like, that feels like me. I'm gonna need that in my life. So I shifted from cabaret to whatever it is Sarah Solstice is doing. Like we were calling it contemporary belly dance or belly dance fusion or tribal fusion, but I don't know that it really has a name. It's just whatever background she has and what she wants to pull in. But I worked with her for about 10 years and it was amazing. Wow. She's an inspiration.
I see the love. I see the love you have for her. That's amazing because that happened for me too. I was about to quit belly dance because it didn't feel like my personality. Everybody was so extroverted, and I'm more introverted. So I can talk in a camera and I can talk in a conference, but I need my time. So in the community was everybody so extroverted and like so much glitter and feathers, and I was like, I love to see it, but I don't know if I like to do that. And because I have friends there and I love them. But when I went to get a seminar with Rachel Bryce, and she started to do some yoga, and she started to talk about isolation, that in a different way that I was like, that exists. Like there's something different than just doing something traditional. Can I do that? It's allowed because I came from the same background that you have to be very traditional, and the music and the rhythm and the costuming has to be really on point, and you have to wear what it had to be with the rhythm, which right now I think it's lacking now. But I think it's a really an experience that many people who wanted to do something more about their persona and something that it feels more like a piece of art, maybe, let's say so. I don't know. I love your story.
Thank you.
So
yeah, I feel like, whoa.
You want to talk about your latest love? Because I know you dance Latin dances. You want to share that experience because I know that's part of your life, not just belly dance, not just Oriental dance. You can talk about the Latin dances you love, because I think many people in Mexico will love to hear that. Maybe.
Sure. So I danced with Sarah for probably it was like 6 years. And then people started asking me to teach, and perform and travel, and belly dance started to feel like work. And like dance for me is more about enjoyment. Like it's to feed my soul. I have a job that pays my bills so that dance does not need to be work. And like I will work, and I started working, and I was enjoying it for a time. But I still needed something that was like just for me. It isn't about what it looks like for anyone else or what anyone wants from me. It is purely to feed me. And so it was just sort of random, but a friend of mine sent me an online contest through some magazine. And he was like, you should apply for this. It sounds like something you would like. And it was a free pass, winning a free pass to a festival in New York called the International Partner Dance Intensive. And it only ran for 2 years. And I happened to go to the very first one. And I won this pass, or else I never would have gone, which is crazy to me because it changed my whole life. But I went to this festival, and it was like a weekend dance camp. And it was 6 different dances, and they made you a schedule based on whether or not you had studied these dances before. So like if you filled out an information sheet that was like, I'm a beginner in this, I'm intermediate in this, I'm beginner, I'm advanced, I'm beginner, intermediate. And they made you a schedule personalized just for you so that you were in all the right classes for these 6 dances.
So cool.
And it was 3 partner dances, salsa, tango, and West Coast swing. And then 3 solo dances, ballet, modern, and Afro-Haitian.
Oh my God.
And I had no partner dance experience, like no serious partner dance experience before this. And partner dancing had always felt like some guy telling me what to do. And I hated that. And so I refused to do partner dancing for a long time until I went to this festival. And then it just like, it blew my mind. The head of the festival was like, partner dancing is supposed to be a conversation. It is art that you make with another person on the dance floor to music. And I was like, what? Why did nobody ever tell me this before? This is amazing. So I tried the 3 different partner dances, but salsa, like the music just so good. And I left this weekend having like a massive crisis in my life. Like, how am I going to shift from 100% belly dance to get more salsa in my life? Because I need this in my life. And so I started like tapering down the amount of belly dance that I was doing in order to like go social dancing a lot and like learn how to salsa dance. And as I started doing that, like then it was bachata, and then cha-cha, and then kizomba and Brazilian zouk, and there are all these different partner dances in the like Afro-Latin, Afro-Caribbean spectrum. And I was like, okay, well, I need to learn all of this. And I think what I hadn't realized was that in belly dance, I had lost a lot of the social aspect of dancing. That belly dance, perhaps this is an American thing, but that belly dance in America is very performance-based.
Yes.
So you spend a lot of your time either training to perform or performing. And like you're in classes and everyone is just like face to the mirror and you're all just working on your own thing. Or you're like, just staring at yourself in a mirror, working on these very minute details for years and years and years. And then the point of this all is to go up on stage and perform. It's not to be in a group, a community, dancing together. And I had that. I had it when I was in college and doing a lot of hip hop and going out to clubs. You go out to a party and you meet all these strangers on the dance floor, and the way you meet is by interacting in dance and like seeing how they move and mimicking that and giving them a move, and like that exchange of energy was what really drove me in dance. And I wasn't getting it from belly dance, and I forgot that feeling until I hit salsa, and I was like, oh, oh, I missed that. Yeah. Yeah, I need that.
So salsa, put salsa in your tacos, like
Oh,
because you
it's
say
delicious.
salsa, for me it has two meanings. Like
They're both
the
delicious.
salsa to your life, right?
Yes.
So
Sabor.
that's so interesting because, for example, in Mexico, it's like sometimes the opposite. People do it too much for just the sake of dance without technique. Sometimes, and it's like more like everybody wants to perform without technique,
Mm.
and it's like you take also, for me in my mind, I admire U.S. belly dancers, whatever you call it. I admire them because of their tenacity on the technique. But as you said, maybe going to the extreme about just technique, and just focus on myself uh, might be like too extreme. Like you need maybe like a community and technique for yourself, maybe. And I don't know, because we had many great dancers on Mexico from you, especially from US, like Mira Betts. I went to Suhaila last year, and but Mira Betts made my mind like, I saw you dance with her, so I know you know what I'm talking about. And I saw the Mira piece. You were there. She came to Mexico City, and my friend Fabi, she organized it. And I was behind the scenes, and I was like so impressed about the whole idea and the whole process. And I was like, whoa! And she's amazing. And people like Mira Betts for me, and so many other dancers, Katarina Burda for me, it's like they have so much technique, but they have like a lot of this social aspect and the art aspect. So we admire that from you guys, and it's so interesting that you think also that you get too much on technique, like sometimes, and that's very interesting for me. It's new. Yeah.
So some people might not agree with me. I think it's a range. I think there are still people that want to dance without putting the effort into learning either the technique or the history or the culture. And then I think there are people that are extremely focused on technique
Yeah.
and driven by this idea of perfection. But I think across the board,
Uh-huh.
they all still have this goal of like stage performance as what is important in dance.
Yeah.
And I think that's where maybe I am in the minority, but I don't think that these dances are specifically meant to prioritize the stage. I
I'm
think see, at least we're together in this. I think the goal of a lot of these dances was community. Hip hop, Latin dance, and Middle Eastern dance. The point of them was to bring community together, not to sit in a theater and watch. So while theater performances are great and I do them and I'm not necessarily disparaging them, I think the heavy prioritization of that takes away from the real root and purpose of these dances, and perhaps contorts the way people see them and experience them when they're learning them.
might be. I I see performance maybe other dancers see it completely different. Many dancers in Mexico, they want to have a stage and get notorious and famous and beautiful, and that's okay. Not my thing, and it's okay. But for me, the stage is like the cherry on the pie. Like it's you enjoy it, but you have this amazing pie too. And the other stuff in the pie, it's also the people and a lot of the vanilla and the I don't know how to call it in English, but all the creamy stuff are people and technique and rhythms and all of the time you put it there, because otherwise if you only want the cherry, it's like too tiny, like you need all the cake, right? Or other teachers say veggies, eat your veggies and then eat your dessert, for me that is the dessert, like not my main purpose, so you're not alone.
Good. Thank you.
So you want to move to the next question?
Sure.
This is the great question about today, and it's kind of sad that it's not anymore Black History Month because it's March, but it's okay. We can do this all the time. So for all the people who is listening, especially in Mexico, Black History Month, it's a very special month in the US. US has a great history about so many African American social justice, and it's too much that I cannot even speak about it in just 1 minute. But Black History Month, it's a month made for all the histories and for US people to know more about their own history. So I find it really amazing. And I have learned a lot in the last, I don't know, 10 years that in my life. I knew history, but now it's more present due to internet, Google. And so it was a really important month. So as that, the question is, how has been an African American belly dancer, which is sometimes not something that we in Mexico think about it. Maybe it's not so regular right now. And let me know how it feels for you. It feels easy. It feels hard. I don't know which are the words you want to use. So I don't want to put words for you.
So I think that I have been very fortunate as an African American dancer because I live in New York. And so there's a lot of diversity here. And I also had, like I said before, I had the opportunity to pass because I'm not particularly dark. And Middle Eastern culture does run in a certain color bracket that includes me. When I was working with the Middle Eastern community, they often thought I was Middle Eastern. So I was lucky in that regard. I was working with someone who organized the parties and events. So I didn't have to deal with whether or not I fit the correct description of what they wanted in a dancer. I never even actually saw whether or not that was an issue. I also was not trying to do this professionally. And I think that that's also a big deal because I never had to keep certain gigs. It was never very important for me to have a full schedule of people that wanted to see me dance. And the pressure that comes from making money off of dance in that way. And I think that for people who go that route, they see the discrimination more blatantly than I would as someone who is more on the hobby side of things. And it's interesting because I suppose fit the description of a professional belly dancer. But I also, uh, on purpose, made it so that the money was not important to me. And that's a really big deal, I think, especially for African American belly dancers,
Mm,
because if you're getting money somewhere else, you don't have to take gigs if it feels uncomfortable. You don't have to argue if someone says that like they need you to do something different, like they don't like your hair that way, they don't like your size, you need to change it, they don't like your costume, you need to change it, they don't like whatever. You don't have to deal with any of those people. But it also does mean that those people get whatever they want, and they still have the control and the power to uh, to avoid using black belly dancers if they don't want to. So I I know I've been exceptionally lucky to not really have to see this. Um,
mm,
Sarah's company was also very diverse. When I first came in, she had two Black teachers already on staff, uh, Zuleika Milan and Danielle Hutton, both beautiful belly dancers of their own right. They were already teaching at her studio, and she had, I don't know, maybe she had six teachers, six or seven teachers, and two of them were Black. That is abnormal at a lot of places. So I came in seeing a lot of diversity and assumed the scene was like that until I started traveling. And then I was like, well, look at that. I'm the only Black dancer in the room. How does something like that happen? And I started to see the scene as a whole was very different than what it was like at home for me. So I recognize that a lot of other dancers deal with a situation where they are the only Black belly dancer in the room. Um, and that was not really my experience, but it was because of my area and the community that I chose to be a part of.
yeah.
And I was able to choose that because it wasn't important to like to be famous or to be in the in crowd or to make a lot of money from it or like try to fish
Yes.
for uh for for fame or for uh recognition. um I do think that once I started working by myself, so like I started traveling with Sarah and then I started working alone, um that I started to notice a difference in the way that people hired me. And I didn't know right away, because I didn't, like, when you first start, you don't necessarily feel comfortable being like, well, how much are you making on this? And like, well, did they pay your hotel and your travel? You like, you feel a little uncomfortable asking those kinds of questions and standing up for yourself because it's like, oh, I got my first gig in another city. And so I do feel like there were events that took advantage of me, um, that offered lower pay or didn't offer to manage accommodations, because they felt like they could get away with it. And sometimes I wonder whether it's like it's the belly dance community as a whole, because I have heard complaints about that from many dancers. So it's not just me, but I also feel like when I compared with other dancers, like I'm headlining a festival, and so is this person, and we're teaching the same number of classes, but they made more than me. Um, like once I started having that conversation, I started recognizing the differences, uh, of the way that event organizers were treating me as opposed to others. Um, and that was disappointing, I think, because a lot of people think like the belly dance community is a sisterhood and everybody is like loving and equal and fair. So to see like racial inequality was kind of like, ouch, that. And it's an ethnic dance, so why is this happening?
Yeah.
um, that was unfortunate.
Actually, if somebody wants to know more about your experiences, I think the video you had with the salsa ladies, the Congress ones, it was amazing. I'm going to put that link here because I think it speaks volumes about the community, and I think it was really amazing to watch it. It was really amazing. I recommend it for everybody to watch that video. It was an amazing interview they made you.
Thank you.
And the chatting between everybody was like really bringing so many subjects that I think are very important. And I I wish we could talk about them, but you had like 1 year talking just about those subjects. It's really hard, because there's so many things here and there, and then you bring an experience, and then you bring other stuff. But um, I told you when we were going to start the interview that I see many Mexican ladies that can see you and think, oh, there's a lady, there's somebody who has a darker skin in the belly dance area or in the dance area. And I think that happened a lot with, for example, Misty Copeland. And I think everybody loves Misty Copeland. If they don't, they're bad. They are really not good people. Like, you're bad people. Like, she's so amazing. And as a Mexican, I think many ladies I've seen, many tiny kiddos, they go to ballet because of Misty Copeland, even in Mexico. So I think we need that, and also I don't know, the belly dance, but not just the belly dance, but all dances that aren't ballet or that aren't something qualified by some people by high arts. They don't pay you well enough. And if they see you don't have a lot of time or a lot of experience, they can take advantage of you. And I see that as globally, not just in the US. In Mexico, well, if you have a hobby in Mexico, it's like you need to be rich. And that idea, it's in many countries still so far. So for us, for example, going to ballet, it's not like super possible for everybody, because sometimes classes here cost like $50 per month, and you think, oh, $50, that's nothing. And for us, it's to eat or not to eat sometimes, right? So sometimes going to ballet classes is like, mm-mm. So for me, I want people to see you and think, I can do it. Maybe if I like it, if I have this energy, there's a way I can do it. And maybe it will be easy, but there's a way. So that brings to the next question. I know it's not the same country. We talk about it. And I know it's not a perfect advice, and you can say whatever you think, and nobody has to take it for like this is a rule. They can just take something. But if some Afro-Mexican lady is watching you, Afro-Mexican woman is watching you, do you have any advice, even if it's not the same country, any advice you think, oh, this helped me in my life?
That is a great question. I think I agree. I don't necessarily know the community of the Mexican belly dance scene, but I think there are a few things that you have to decide first. First is, are you trying to go professional? Because if you are, you have to be ready to fight for yourself, to stand up for yourself, to represent yourself and people who look like you, and work twice as hard as everybody else to be recognized. Like, I honestly feel like I have to be 3 times better than anyone else for my name to be mentioned in a room. And I worked hard to do that on purpose, like to show this is possible. Black dancers are out there. But I also do feel like it is discouraging to try to be a professional in a scene that feels like it doesn't necessarily respect you at the higher level. I think it is easier when you have another person who is going through the same thing. So the second thing I would say is looking for a mentor who is doing this already, who has already seen these situations, who knows who's not going to hire you and will guide you in the right direction so that you can avoid some of those situations that like really hurt your soul. If you don't have a mentor in your area, at least like create your own little group of people who are in the same situation so that even if you're building together, you're not building alone. That is definitely one of the most difficult things. If you are not trying to go professional,
Hold on,
just
Serena. If
yes.
you're not building together, you're not building alone. That's a quote. I'm sorry, I had to stop you. But again, if you're not building together, I'm sorry. If you're, how you say it? Can you?
I'm not even sure.
I will repeat the video, but it was just pure math. I'm so sorry. Keep on.
It's okay. I do think that's a big deal though, because it's much harder to do something to create your own path by yourself. That if you can band together with a group, it is much easier to deal with situations that are painful or discouraging because you at least have other people with you. So if you're not trying to go professional, I think just looking for a community that is open and inclusive and warm is really like, it would be nice if there were other Black people in your community. Maybe it's going to end up to be your role to convince those people to come. Sometimes you have to forge that path alone, and you have to be ready for that. But know that we are out here. And if there's one great thing about the pandemic, it's been the fact that you can see people from all over the world that are like you, even if people in your area are not. And so one of the things that I was really happy about in the pandemic was creating there was a Black belly dance show. And I was so excited to be a part of that, to showcase all of these incredible Black belly dancers that most people don't know.
Yes.
There were people in that group that I didn't know. That's what's so crazy to me. There were dancers that came into that group that I was like, who is that? And why didn't I know them? That's impossible.
I saw you there. I saw so many dancers. I knew a few of them. And I love them. I love them. It was a really beautiful show. It was a really beautiful. Bravo.
Thank you. Yes. And they're so varied. It's not even like we all look similar or we all have similar dance styles, or like it was literally across the board, like all colors, all areas, all different styles of dance, traditional and fusion, just phenomenal dancers that people should know. People should know these Black belly dancers. You should be able to see them regularly, as opposed to us having to create our own show so that people know who we are. But if that's how it has to be, then that's what we have to do. We have to make our own show. Let's do it.
I agree with that, because even sometimes, for example, let's say fusion styles versus cabaret style, you have to build it from zero sometimes. So I think it might be kind of like that feeling, like there's no one there, so you have to build it up. And as you said, I love everything you said. It's really beautiful.
Thank you.
It's just I saw that show and I just have so many thoughts in my head. But I can talk forever. So it was just so many beautiful and girls, and not just beautiful just because of aesthetics, beautiful in the dance, in the ideas, in the creativity, in the intelligence. So many of you have different careers, and I admire all of you. And one of the things that I love you said was that the skin shade is like not everybody looks the same. Not all the idea we can have about an African American, an Afro Mexican lady is the same, right? I can have different roots, and that's beautiful. And I love that from that show, that everybody looks different but connected, and I love it. And I want to ask something more light.
Okay.
So, because this is dance stuff, we make it funny, but this is dance. So, what are the best experiences in dance? You said a little bit of that, but what are like the best experience in dance you had? One, two, three, as many as one.
So I think most of my like best experiences in dance have been just these fleeting moments where I felt connected to another dancer. And a lot of them lately have been in partner dancing because the focus um, is such a priority in the dance. The connection of two dancers is the point. Um, and so I think the moments that I think back on that I was like, oh, what an awesome dance. Like um, they've been these quiet moments that I can't even repeat. I can't get back. I don't have video of them. There's no evidence of them. They're gone and disappeared. But like I remember them like in my heart, in my mind, as this perfect moment of like beautiful sweeping music and the feeling of movement and the feeling of connection with another person. So like I think for me a lot of those moments are they pass so quickly and you wouldn't even necessarily recognize when they happened as they're happening. They're already gone. So like I don't know that I could like name them, like the song and the place and the person. But I do have a handful of ones where like the first time that Sarah asked me to do a performance piece with her dance company, like that whole experience, starting from the moment I got that email at work and like jumped up and down and was like, ha! And my coworkers are like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Because they'd never understand. And then sending emails to like my family and friends, like, "Sarah asked me to be in a piece with her. I'm gonna perform at Ricasa." That was one. And that just that whole experience of getting to see the way that she creates choreography, because it's so foreign to me. I don't choreograph, period. I have choreographed 5 pieces in my entire life, and it was because they were for groups and I wasn't able to get away with not choreographing, So like it had to be choreographed because it was multiple people on stage and they're like, "Serena, what are we doing?" But when I go on stage, it's all improvised. I have never choreographed a solo in my life. And like I'd like to eventually, I think. I think of the idea of choreographing and I like one day I'll get there. But I really like the feeling of being in that moment without a plan. Not necessarily without a plan. That's stressful. But the idea of being in the moment, like perfectly in the moment and having to be in the moment in order to create something. So getting to watch someone else create choreography, because her choreographies are phenomenal and so very strange in the nicest way, like in the most interesting, inspiring way. Uh, her choreographies are things she's seen in dreams and like things she can't do yet. This this is what fascinates me about Sarah. When most people choreograph, they choreograph movements that they know and feel comfortable doing.
Uh-huh.
They choreograph what they're good at. So like they're constantly turning to their best side and they're always doing patterns that they've practiced the most. Sarah choreographed things she could not do and then forced us to learn them in order to do this choreography. That fascinated me. That was one of the moments that broke my brain because I'd never seen that before.
That's
Someone making something they couldn't do.
I can do a layback. Let's do a layback.
She was like, I see this thing in my head and I tried to do it and couldn't. So let's all get together and practice at like 30% speed. She was like, I
Ah,
want it to be like this, and then that, and then this, and then that, like while we are interweaving with each other. And we would just work this out at like super snail pace until it was physically possible at like 30%, and then 40, 50, 55, 60. And like we edged it up until it was physically possible. But nothing in her choreography was like, oh, piece of cake.
wow. Wow.
So watching her create was actually one of my favorite dance experiences because uh, for classes she usually has the piece created already, but for her troupe she like makes it in front of us. So um, being very close to that experience was really cool for me.
Wow. That's amazing. And I'm losing my words. I I I connect with you with the idea about improvising. I mean, you not improvise for real everything. You have an idea about the music, about the movements you might do, because you already know maybe when you are going to perform. But for me, I think that's about the in US you call it cabaret. In Mexico we call it Egyptian style. So we only say Egyptian style, and I think it has a lot to do with that because you learn all your entire time to the rhythms. You have four, you have eight, you have in the fourth, you're gonna change, the rhythm might change, the percussion can be crazy and do crazy stuff, and you have to be like on point all the time. So I think if you've studied that, maybe you love that because it's already on your body. Like I don't know how you feel, but I feel in my body the music and I respond to the music and I know where it's coming. And I remember my teacher saying that when I was starting, I was like, no, that's not possible. Like you're crazy. How you know where it's coming? Like even if the song is an Arabic song and it has the rhythms that maybe you don't even identify them, how you know? And you know, I know your body knows it out and as long as it goes. So I believe that with other musics can be the same. You already know where it's going, and your body starts to feel it. And I love that. I don't feel all the time like on the zone, like floating, but I think it's a feeling that every human being should feel. Like boom, you feel like this energy just exploding, and I think it's like very meditation stuff, like very zen stuff, and it makes you feel like connected with the world, like very stuffy dance style, like you are connected with the universe and your atoms are the universe. I don't know but it feels, it doesn't just think, it feels on your body. So I agree.
It sounds crazy, but I totally agree.
Yeah, I think for somebody who hasn't feel it or dance, my tear. Like what? What? So going to something more vain, more materialistic. Um, I told you I am more like stamina has been one of my things that I still work on it. So I love how much stamina you have it, and I feel no, I not just feel. I believe you have it naturally, like it's in your genes. Like you have a lot of energy. For me, it's not the same. It's more like I need to be more calm and everything's more mental, you know. So, do you have any advice for being fit? And fit for some people might be a goal or not. And for having stamina, do you have any advice how you do it? It's natural. It's alien stuff.
It might be alien stuff. I do think that I am lucky to have a very athletic body type,
Mhm.
naturally. My parents were both athletes and dancers, and so I think I am fortunate in that way that, like, genetically, I'm lucky. I was also a swimmer, um, for 12 years when I was growing up. I started swimming at the age of 4, like competitive swimming, uh, from age 4 until 16. So a lot of the, if you've seen me, that swimming built this. So as an adult, mostly it's just maintenance for me of like, don't eat really poorly, don't eat so very much. Um, and in general, like I feel like my eating habits as a child were healthy. Like my parents made good uh good examples. And so it's not very difficult for me to like just don't have a lot of cookies in the house. Just don't like don't don't buy a lot of crap because you'll eat it. And if you don't have it, then you can't eat it. Ha! That's sort of what happened in my house. But dancing, most of my fitness comes from dancing now. And I constantly feel like I'm not doing very much, and then I realize that I'm still dancing like 3 hours a day, probably 3 to 4 times a week.
Oh,
And that's less than it used to be before the pandemic. I was probably dancing 4 to 5 hours a day, at least 3 to 4 times a week, because I was going out social dancing,
I was
like
working.
plus work. Luckily, I work from home. That is also very lucky.
Yes.
So like I don't have to wake up super early and I don't have to get dressed just in sweatpants all day.
Lucky.
But like I was going social dancing for salsa. Parties last from 10 p.m. until 4 in the morning most of the time. So like I was dancing probably 5 hours a night, twice, 3, 4 times a week. It depends on the week, but like I was dancing a lot.
I remember that hearing that we were in 8 elements and I was having problems with the energy and you were like, oh yeah, I just wake up like 3 hours ago. What? How you do it?
So one of the other things that helps me is music.
Mm,
Um, Without music, I like slowly settle into the like I could fall asleep. But uh, if I have music on and I like have playlists specifically to amp me up, I know what kind of music I need to listen to in order to like raise my energy level. I'll send you a playlist.
yes, please.
Um,
I can put it here on the YouTube link. Mhm.
okay.